So hi, One Good Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with.
Parker.
And I'm Chris, and we're the Messenger Birds.
All right, some questions to say about their upcoming album, Tragic Comedy. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Great. Yeah, we're really excited about it. And, it's coming up quick. It's coming up this Friday. So a couple days left, and then it's birthed into the world.
Oh, yeah. Album's super cool.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
There's a good amount.
There's a lot going on there. Yeah. I think Tragic Comedy was sort of just the feeling that we had over the last couple of years, where everything has been varying degrees of insane in our lives, and the only way that we know how to cope with that is to make a joke out of it. So that's our general personalities, and we've got a real dry, dark sense of humor, and that's sort of where all that comes from. But Tragic Comedy is just sort of that message.
Makes sense.
Gotcha.
A lot of things happen that are like too crazy to be real, that it has to be a joke or it has to be funny. And it is real, and it's not a joke, and it's not funny.
Yeah.
I think also it's we always feel kind of like the things that are funniest are the things that are not supposed to be funny. So it's always like that weird feeling of like, I'm not really supposed to be laughing at this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any meaning behind the cover art?
Chris, you want to take this one?
Oh yeah. The robot technology has kind of been a theme in the band, and destroying technology is kind of part of the theme as well. And the robot kind of was planned, kind of not. Our buddy Ray was literally just said to us when we were sitting down, being like, "Hey, I want to build a robot," and we're like, "Okay," and we're like, what do you mean a robot? And he's like, "Well, I was looking at these like old photos from like the 1950s, and there's this like robot that they made in Russia that was like the biggest deal, but it wasn't really a robot. It was like a costume of a robot that somebody was dressed in." And just that whole story was so interesting. We're like, okay, let's use that as inspiration and bring it back to now. So you have the robot. If you haven't seen our "Do As You Please" music video, he's the main feature, and the robot falls in love with the human female. And that's kind of the story on that. And then on the cover, we're kind of essentially killing him.
Okay.
So,
yeah. But just for fun, because he's a robot and you can't really die. You just rebuild him.
Just unplug
But
him.
that Soviet era photo too, it was like this weird like spy robot costume thing, and it's just like with this weird feeling of like past and future at the same time, which is also kind of a thing that we have going on the album. So we thought that was kind of cool. We tried to translate that as best we could.
Hell yeah.
For sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this album?
Yeah, we started working on ideas really pretty much right after we finished the first album, and we kind of took it slowly, and we aren't really ones to rush putting stuff out or putting something together. We really like to sort of let it come to us and let it feel natural, and we set aside specific time to work on things, but we really try not to force anything that doesn't feel like it's doing its job. So we really took it slow. Tragic Comedy was actually the very first song that we wrote for the album, so it just sort of ended up becoming the entire theme of everything. And we mostly were just sort of writing about either our experiences or friends' experiences, or just weird stories that we heard, or things that were going on in the world, and just kind of wrote objectively about all that. And we like to write also in a way where like there's real events that you can specifically point to, and exact references, but they can also be interpreted in more than just one way. So some people, if you miss a specific reference, you might get something else out of it. So I think that's one of the things that we tried to focus on.
Sure. That's really sick.
Anything to add, Chris?
I'm the more specific, like writing. Do you want to know about how like we kind of work things out together? I mean, we're like always working like physically with each other, and we try all sorts of things to try to see how they sound and where they're gonna go. And songs have come from like Parker diddling on the guitar to like a line from like a news article could be like inspiration to go down a whole path into a whole song, you know, story song, start to finish, 6 minutes long. And it could come from us just jamming together, just like warming up, you know, to get ready to play a song we already have, and we're like, wait, let's make another song out of this. And
sometimes there's like a weird sound that comes out of a guitar pedal, and I'm like, oh, this gives me an idea to do something else. And it can start from the tiniest thing, and no one song is written the same way. It all starts in a different place and takes different amounts of time. Some songs we've written in a day, start to finish, and other songs it'll take us like 3 months to finish it. And so you never know what's going to happen, and we just kind of keep plugging away at it and until it feels like it's ready to go.
It's all about that feeling at the end, you know. You just got to feel really good about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if we're not excited about it, we're like, oh, not doing it.
We're not using it.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. So what song off this album took the longest to write, and which one is each of your own personal favorite?
That's a good question. What's the longest? What took us the longest?
Killing Time took the most tweaking. It was in and out forever. It's like it was, I feel like it was really quick for you to like kind of structure it together. But then once we got into the studio, there was like rounds and rounds of mixing and tweaking and restructuring to that one.
Yeah, I would say weirdly, it was one of the quickest ones to write the basic idea for. And, you know, we kind of thought that it was going to be pretty similar to the original demo that we had. And then we got in the studio, we tried some different things, and the mix just kept coming out in a way that we weren't quite happy with. And then we just went back to the drawing board, scrapped a bunch of stuff, and sort of restructured the whole thing and added a bunch of different synthesizers and different layers and until we felt like it was doing what we wanted it to do. So that one, I guess, if you count like from the first day that it was we started writing it to the final like mix version in the studio, it probably took like a year and a half. But
Damn, dude.
In terms of other songs, I feel like one of the other ones that took a longer time to put together was Midwestern Mirage. Maybe that one was like we had some parts to it. We had a couple of like the initial parts that, and then they were kind of separated, and it took us a while to kind of realize that they needed to be put together. It was like separate song ideas that just weren't working by themselves, and then had kind of a realization that we were just being stupid. But
Bad Faith was kind of like that too. That first
Bad Faith was like that too. Yeah,
demoed out like pretty quick, and we're like, oh, this is a cool vibe. It's like, oh, where do we go? And then we went back to it, left it, went back to it, figured out, and got it feeling really good.
Yeah, I'd say that like the longest any one song probably took us, excluding the Killing Time writes and rewrites, was maybe like 3 months. But then the fastest one was Tragic Comedy, I think. That was like one and done. I think I was working on like a completely different idea that again like wasn't going my way. And I was texting Chris, and I was like, "This thing sucks, dude. I don't know what I'm doing with this." And then the next day, Chris went to work, and I was just sitting at home. I had a day off, and then I texted him at lunchtime. I was like, "Hey, I redid the whole thing that I was working on yesterday,
God.
and here's a song."
Wasn't it? Yeah, we sat down probably for like 6 hours. That like it was like a Sunday. We worked on this song for 6 hours, and then it's a Monday. I get a text, and I'm looking at it at lunch, and it's like, "Hey, I did like a totally different thing. Let me know what you think."
Yeah, it was.
So I'm listening. I was
Chris,
like,
Chris
oh,
was
dude,
like, "Oh, this isn't what we did yesterday."
No.
totally different, but had a much just better feel storyline. I don't know if you've heard the song, the title track, Tragic Comedy. It's like a kind of like a story of a song and a big build to it, and that end really blasted out like in the studio, but everything else I feel like was kind of just like demoed like that.
Yeah, the structure of the whole thing really didn't change at all. The only thing that was different was, adding different synthesizers that we don't have in our home studio. And then there were these big church bells. Well, I mean, I don't know if they're technically church bells, but these set of bells that they had at Rust Belt.
They took them from a church. They took them from
they
a church,
did?
but
Church bell.
yeah,
That's
but they
a
like
church bell, yeah.
but then they built this like this rickety wood like structure thing on them, and you like hit them with a mallet. And it was like it looked like they made the wood like frame to hold the bell pieces out in like a garage or something. It was like 4 pieces of wood nailed together,
Yeah.
and it was really
it
but,
wasn't
like,
even
the
like
bells.
they were like 2x2 pieces of wood, weren't they? 2-inch by 2-inch.
Yeah, just with a couple nails holding them.
That wasn't
together.
even like
Just
2x4.
just
so
threw it
like
together.
anything super
'cause
sturdy.
they
It
just
was
wanted
like
to, yeah.
it was
They
a little
wanted to
bit
suspend
wobbly.
it.
Yeah, every time you hit it.
Oh my God.
It's flavor.
But the bells still made like they just needed to dangle them so you could hit them and have them ring.
Mhm.
And it was something that we almost didn't do on that track too, because we were pretty much done with that song, and then one of the people that works at the studio, Masha, she just came and was like, "Oh, you guys should get these bells out." And we're like, "What are you talking about? What bells?" Because we are there all the time. We've never seen these bells, and she's like, "Yeah, there's these church bells back here. You guys should totally try these out." And we're like, "Okay."
Bet.
I think she said her brother got them and like built that thing and set it up there. She's like, "Yeah, my brother found these like bells or like like a church was selling or some shit." And then I was like, "Yeah." We bring them out, just like start hitting them. It's like, dude, this is sweet. Let's use
Yeah.
it.
Oh my God.
And then favorites off the record.
Chris, you go first.
I wanted you to go. This is tough. All right. Well, I'm kind of split between two, for two different reasons. Midwestern Mirage is one of my favorite songwriting songs that we've done. I love the vibe, the tones, the way it's recorded, the kind of emotions that it brings, and the topics it addresses. But then we have the last song on the album, which we threw to kind of together in the studio, like, and we just went from like kind of a question mark, like not sure how we're gonna do this per se, and then we just like blasted out, and it was so cool, and it was just so fun to just like knock that one out as like kind of like an ender, kind of like an outro song.
Mhm.
So that's Cycle Repeats.
Nice.
Yeah, that one kind of like turned out to be a weird upside down mirror image of the intro track.
Mhm.
And it just gets me pumped every time I hear it still.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that one's
As it
fun.
should. Yeah.
I gotta agree with Chris that I was really happy with the way Midwestern came together. I think that Do As You Please was one of the ones that I think that was the absolute last song that we wrote for the record. And it was like we were in a place where we knew we needed one more song, and we didn't quite have like the right vibe of any of the other stuff that we were working on. And that one was just like this really weird idea that we tried out, and we're like, we just need like a fast thumper song and just to add a little bit more of that pace to the album, because there was a lot of it's a pretty drony album overall. Like there's a lot of dynamics on it, but there's a lot of slow stuff on there, and we were like, we need to mix it up. We need to add a little bit more speed to break it up and push the momentum a little bit. And that one just kind of came out of nowhere. And I don't think that was like the fastest one, because it took some tweak and it took some real effort to try to pull that one together. But it just was this like really off the cuff, like not in our wheelhouse usually sort of song that turned out really cool.
Mhm.
A lot of just really weird sounds, really unique harmonies, harmonic structure, and just like really simple lyrics that Chris came up with, I think, about half of them, and then I came up with the other half, and it just like worked really well together when we finally finished it, and we're like, sweet, this is the record. So I just like that was the last one that tied everything together. And then I mean I think Tragic Comedy is just both of our favorites, just because it's such an interesting track. Again, another one that was kind of like a different feel from what we had done in the past.
For sure. So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener to be the opener, closer be a closer? Did you shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
The opener was definitely written to be an opener. The closer was written to be a closer, but
Definitely.
everything in the middle was sort of up in the air, and we didn't know what the order to the rest of it was going to be really until we had finished recording everything. We kind of had a general idea, like we knew that Look My Way was going to be like 1 or 2, and then we decided to end up putting an intro track in. But that one was the only like really sure one that we had. We knew what kind of needed to be in the middle, but we didn't really have a set list of like, this needs to go here, this needs to go here, until we looked at all 12 tracks that we had and said, okay, what, because we had a couple variations too, where we tried listening to it in order in some different ways, and the flow just wasn't quite working and for some of them. And then we finally set on the one that we have. Chris, what was there were a couple that I think we had placed like specifically in like directly in the middle, and then some that were on the back half we tried in the front. Do you remember which ones those were?
Well, we definitely were thinking that Tragic Comedy would be the ender because of how epic it was, and it didn't end up being the ender because then we would decide to throw in like an outro-y song in there. I thought Killing Time we were thinking to put like towards the end, kind of like to put before the epic build up, but then it ended up going in the middle. And then was Fountain Dreams maybe supposed to be like earlier in the set?
I think
And
we
then-
tried that one
then
in
we
the first
pushed
half
that.
of it, and then we pushed it in the second half.
We had like Fortune Teller and Fountain Dreams kind of like swapped, and then we're
Yeah,
like, no,
that's
we should. We want like once Fortune Teller was actually like recorded or getting in the studio, like how this is sounding, it's like, oh yeah, this is like got so much energy and stuff, and it just like lines up really well after Do As You Please.
Makes sense.
And then maybe Alone was not supposed to be there either, but
Yeah,
Can't totally remember.
we just were trying to really make sure that the order of it really worked for the dynamics changing, because we obviously have like Do As You Please and Fortune Teller are probably the two fastest songs on the album, and we wanted to make sure that those were placed properly for the rest of them to work. So that was, I think, the trickiest part, was like, where do those go, and then where do the pieces fit around it, and then settling on Killing Time going right in the middle was helpful in terms also of figuring out like what was going to be the second half of the record versus the first half.
Yeah.
You guys said in the beginning that it's all kind of written loosely around like the events that were happening around the time that you guys were writing the record. Does it happen to be like in chronological order, or is it just kind of like the way the songs kind of fell in the track list?
Yeah, I don't think it's chronological order. I think there's
Yeah.
some that kind of just happen to be that way. But yeah, it's definitely just pieced sort of randomly in the like timeline of events.
Makes sense.
Yeah, overall, by the time the album's done, we're trying to make it our own kind of like experience, our own story, start to finish,
Mhm.
uh, to for people to experience like its own thing. So the events that occurred are not as they occurred in the world.
Okay.
I would say
That's
that
fair.
more so than like events being in order, it's also or it's more so kind of placed in order of like themes that start in the beginning and then they cycle back and then they go away and then they cycle back again.
Mhm.
So it's that's a little bit more intentional than like the sequence of actual like historical timeline events that happen in the real world.
Yeah.
We
Well,
were
just like how events happen, like the reasons that they happen are not usually unique. The events might be details are unique, but what happens, how people are feeling, like what they're thinking when they're doing it, those are usually reoccurring themes.
Mhm.
So the order of when they happen doesn't totally matter, right? It's like it's themes that exist that keep existing, and you kind of take
well, and
that
everything is
emotion.
really cyclical. So that's like
Mhm.
I mean, again, that's like a big theme of this whole album is that everything happens in cycles, and it sort of overlaps itself again and again over time.
Mhm.
Makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. So, would you guys be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you were creating this record?
Probably in some different places. I know that we were both dealing with a lot of different things throughout like the pandemic time period, and one of the things that it was happening in my life was my fiance's mother had died just prior to the pandemic, so that was something that was still really fresh, and you know, kind of dealing with the changing emotions that come along with that, and dealing with all the family aspects and the home life and everything along those lines. That stuff was really tough. So that those emotions are kind of in this record a lot.
Mhm.
And then just you know, dealing with our own personal struggles, whether it's family stuff or just like being kind of feeling a little bit despondent and depressed, and you know, whatever other emotions you want to throw in there, Chris. I mean, we just really were like uh, playing on everything that we felt throughout that time period,
Yeah.
especially the frustrations that came along with a lot of the political landscape that we were seeing as well.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
a big thing that we feed into all the time is we're obsessed with conspiracy, and
Yeah.
I think that the QAnons of the world have ruined the fun of conspiracy.
Yes, absolutely.
I think conspiracy is supposed to be fun,
Mhm.
and it turned into something that really made me upset.
Yeah.
So we like to we're trying to bring the fun back to conspiracy here.
Hell
Oh, yeah.
yeah. We need it.
So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should they do it in the car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
Dude, I would recommend getting that vinyl for sure because it sounds sick on vinyl. And then you could do solo or with some friends, honestly. But like, yeah, chilling out. I don't know however you are your means of chilling out, getting a real cozy space, and like I like nighttime for it personally, and
Mm.
just to get just listen to it, man, like start to finish.
Yeah, I like the idea of, you know, just sitting alone in a dark room with a hard drink and you know, maybe a couple candles lit if you want to do that. But yeah, just
Maybe
sit
get a
alone with
little
your thoughts and let it get real intimate.
two or three friends, a little seance, right? A little some candles in a circle, something like that.
Are you
Maybe
trying
hold
to,
hands, who
are you trying to
knows?
summon
Ooh.
something while listening to the
Oh.
album?
Right.
Hold hands and close your eyes and see what
Start
happens.
chanting something. I don't know. So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your heads. I want you guys to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. 3 words each, 6 total. No more, no less.
Wait, 3 words each, 6 total between the two of us?
Yeah, between the two of you, yeah.
Can they be combined into one sentence?
Sure. This has never happened before. Nobody's ever. Yeah, go for it.
Chris, I'll start, you finish. Ready? The will of
Kevin the Almighty.
yes.
Oh, what? We'll take it. That's great.
I
Perfect.
appreciate it. There was no explanation, no nothing. You
Yeah.
guys just sat here and looked at us. I appreciate that. So, in that same chain of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want your listeners to have while going through the album?
No, nothing specifically. I think that it's an album where you can get a lot of different emotions and feelings out of it. I would hope that's the case. You know, everybody's going to have a different interpretation of what the album means to them. I know that every time I listen to songs that, you know, they mean different things to me at different times. So but hopefully that's the same for other people.
Yeah, going into it, I would say maybe just open emotion, nothing yet, and then see where it takes you.
Don't feel anything.
Start off feeling nothing whatsoever.
Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Kill all emotion, make it disappear.
Become empty inside, and then let the album fill you up.
Soak it up, absorb.
All right, man. All right. Great. What is your favorite memory that you guys made while creating this album?
Studio magic is always special to us. So every time we go into the recording studio with our producer, Steve Lee Hain, every
brilliant
session
man
is a little like it's its own special experience. So we've made every time we went to the studio, which was maybe 15 times for this album, those were 15 really special experiences with stories that are completely unique to each one of those days, and you can't recreate them.
Yeah, and I would say that pretty much on any given day that we went in the studio, we would spend at least like 2 hours of time that we were supposed to be working just doing a joke. And you know, if anybody would just walk in the studio and see what was happening, they would think we're getting absolutely nothing done, and that there's why are we in there?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the beauty of our working relationship with Steve, is that we go in there, we get completely crazy with him, and then we knock everything out.
Nice. So picture this: you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
That's a tough one. Sometimes it's jerky. Sometimes it's like the Duos Cheez-Its, because they always sell those at the gas station.
I'm always grabbing beef jerky or Takis.
We've always got those. Oh, you know what the other one is the honey barbecue Fritos.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The twists.
The twist. Yeah, we got twist.
Oh yeah.
Those are good.
Yeah, we just get a giant bag of those and snack on them while we're driving.
Nice.
That's good. That's good. Is that a big bag each, or do you guys share?
Sometimes we share. Sometimes we both get a big bag.
Yeah, it depends how the last show went, you know.
Yeah.
True. So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Oh my God, that's a hard question.
Yeah.
It might be tacos.
We're tacos. I would say that we're tacos.
Or a Little Caesars hot and ready pizza.
Oh, okay.
That's a better answer.
That's good. And why?
Are you're familiar with hot and ready pizza?
Of course.
Oh yeah, I grew up with it.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot and ready.
Just $5.
Exactly.
And
It's
it's always,
reliable.
and it's always there for you.
Exactly.
Best deal on the market.
Hell yeah. So for the last couple questions, we're gonna shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Last meal with a drink
Mhm.
for me would probably be a chicken shawarma. And
Yes.
my last drink would have to be a cocktail with bourbon, Campari, ginger, and lemon.
Mm,
Nice.
that sounds good.
That's a request. Yeah. Yeah. I would either
If you don't give
do-
me that, I don't die.
Those are the rules.
You just boycott.
I won't die till you give me that.
Mhm.
I think it would be I love squid. I just want like a big old squid, massive tentacles, man. Like, and just straight bourbon.
All right.
Yeah.
Glass probably all the way full on that one. Since
Yeah.
I'm gonna die.
Perfect. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Fictional world.
Mhm.
I have to look something up. Chris, you answer first. I think
Fictional
Chris knows what
world.
I'm looking up, but
It's just fiction. So it's not Earth.
I
Or is
mean,
it
it
just
could be
there-
like Marvel Cinematic Universe Earth, you know, it could be like alternate realities, like shows and stuff.
Yeah, I'd probably pick being in like a cartoon because so much cool, crazy stuff can happen that can't happen
Mhm.
in real life. Like Wile E. Coyote kind of stuff. Like if you can run into a cliff going 100 miles an hour in a car and then you just go flat for a little bit and then you kind of boing back and
Yeah.
then you're good.
Yeah.
not even like a scratch or a stitch.
Mhm. That'd be good.
I'm into that.
I would live in the universe of Neon Gnome, which is a cartoon that existed for exactly one episode on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
And then it got turned into the show Problem Solvers, which was not as cool.
Oh.
But Neon Gnome, if you've never heard of it, look it up on YouTube. It's the best 13 minutes of entertainment that you'll ever watch.
Damn, 13 minutes? Wow.
Is
That's
that
so
too
sad.
long or too short?
No, that's just so short. Like that sucks, man.
Yeah,
I'm
but like
sorry.
think about how many times you can rewatch it.
Yeah, you can watch it
Exactly.
again. It's on YouTube.
You can just watch
Right.
it on an endless loop.
Yeah, just watch it over and over.
You can't absorb everything the first time you watch it anyway.
You have to
There's a lot
watch it
going
many
on.
times.
Oh, so
You-
it's like a complex show.
Oh yeah. This
Yeah.
is the single greatest episode of any cartoon that's ever existed.
You're hyping this up a lot for me. If I watch it and it doesn't reach my expectations, I will I don't know, sue you or something. I don't know how to approach that, but something bad will happen.
She will DM
Send
you
us like
guys.
yeah. You can make it you can give an angry public comment. We won't delete it
Okay.
on everything,
I'll do that.
and we'll share it.
Perfect.
Retweet it, promote it. Yeah, that'd be good.
So I have the honor of asking the last question, and every single person we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
I always like Stormy Ocean.
Hmm.
Stormy Ocean's one of my favorites.
Mhm.
Specific.
Like how specific that was.
I
I've
would have
answered the
to
question before.
say- I don't know that I have a favorite. Maybe some sort of like dark muted green color.
Okay, that's good.
It's a good green.
Nice.
Mhm.
Good picks, guys. So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you guys would like to plug?
Just the album coming out.
Yeah,
soon.
album's coming out on Friday. We play a hometown release show the next day on Saturday. We'll
Yeah,
be
be right.
on Shiprocked Cruise January 22nd through 28th.
Oh yeah.
We're looking at some headliner dates coming in the spring too, so keep an
To
eye out
be
for
announced.
It's good.
yeah, at least regional. In the where are you guys located?
New Jersey.
Virginia.
New
Jersey, Virginia.
That's the same region. We're in Michigan, and we'll be heading out to all the northeast, at least maybe some south, and for the headlining dates in the spring.
Nice.
That'd be sick.
All right. Well, thank you for now. This guy's been the Messenger Birds, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.